Welcome to the CCPIA Roundtable number 2. I was hoping that we could get more people on the video side, but given it's set up as a webinar versus a Zoom call, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. They wanted to be able to see all the names across the screen and with some shiny faces this early in the morning. But alas, hopefully the December meeting will do that a little better. I thought last month went great by just opening it up. Again, my goals is to create a way to have everybody around the country be able to ask questions from their peers. And I know Lance is on the call. Dove, you had a question you wanted to ask Lance right away.
Well, you can take it away. You know my question, and you can bring that discussion up.
Well, that's okay. Why don't you do it? You'll probably because you did the research on it, and I think you'll be better off to ask it, Dove.
Okay, so Lance, I noticed on your site, by the way, it's a great site, and I'm going to steal a lot of it. Thank you. You have your full day pricing and your half day pricing. Full day is $1,000, your half day is $500. So I'm just wondering, the wisdom of that. For example, if I price a building and by square footage and it's $3,500, I can't go do that if I'm putting flat rate pricing out there. How do you do the two of them? And also, do you think half a day for $500 is a little on the low side? But I mean, at least in Oklahoma, it may not be.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I went with putting pricing online because I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So the reason we went with just kind of a flat rate, and I'll be honest with you, out of like 1 out of 100 inspections, is it $500 or $600? My average inspection cost is usually anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. And so but the reason I did that was to kind of start the conversation. So what you'll find out, and home inspectors did this too, and we were one of the first ones in our area just to put our prices online, is everything, especially in the commercial world, there's a lot of anonymity. Nobody really knows what they're really going to be getting out of it. And so when I put my prices on there, most of my people, when I break down what we're actually going to be doing on site, I end up charging a day and a half. But also the reason we did that, to be honest with you, the most methodology reason was Inspectora. I can set up services really easy on that, and I can just add however many I want to add up to the full amount. Now, it is true there are times when I say, hey, I'm going to do a multifamily. I think it'll take me, 2.5 days probably to do it. It may only take me 1 day, but I'm going to charge them an extra $1,000 for the full day. And the reason I started doing that is when I started, I realized that nobody knew how to help price out a project. And it's still probably the top question that everybody has is, hey, I'm having trouble pricing out this project. What would you charge? And so I, in my mind, get paid per day of work. So if I leave the house, I want to at least make $1,000. And so I know if it takes me a whole day, I know now how long it takes me to inspect a type of property, do the report, get it submitted. Maybe it's a day and a half. What I'm finding is my prices are fairly common in our area, but people overprice often because they don't know necessarily what the client wants. And so I just kept it as simple as possible. That's why.
When you're saying a full day, do you then say, hey, I'm going to take a day and a half because I got to write a report for half a day, or are they going to get pushback on that? So you're only there for a day?
Nope, I never get pushback on it. Yeah, that's right. I may be, like, for example, I'm driving right now to another state to go do an office building. I already know this office building is probably going to take me probably 3 hours to walk through and get everything I need out of it because it's a fairly new office building. I charge them for a full day on site and then another full day for a report. And I tell them up front in the conversation, it may look like I'm not doing much on site, but all my work goes in on the reporting side. It's not like home inspections where I'm going to try to do same day reporting, which I dislike same day reporting anyway. But that's why I don't ever get pushback about it. And the reason I do that too is I also don't charge mileage. Like, so for example, it's taken me 2.5 hours one way to drive here. Well, that's that's almost a full day of driving. So I charged a full day to drive out here, because if I'm not driving, I would be somewhere else working, making money. So they're going to pay for my time. So that's kind of how I justified that. And everyone's going to be different. That's
do you ever have to stay overnight and then charge them for that too?
If there is going to be, there won't be an overnight on this, but if there is, that's factored into, the day, if you will. And so,
Got it.
and I realize that, that keeps it cleaner on the admin side. There's been some projects where I don't do it that way. It's so convoluted that it's going to take so many different people to be there. I may do something different, and that happens from time to time.
One more question.
But most of the buildings I inspect,
are you wearing your cowboy hat today?
Yeah, I've always got two in the truck, Dove. You know that. Always.
Always. All right, man. Thanks a lot.
It's cold in the morning and warm in the afternoon.
Love it.
Thanks, Lance. Thanks, Dove. So I think our takeaway is there's a lot of different ways that you can develop a pricing strategy. Whether you publish or don't want to publish, that's absolutely up to you. If you are publishing your prices, though, check on them all the time. If all of a sudden you've mentally adjusted your pricing, make sure you adjust your website, because you don't want to get called out by having something that's wrong. I see, Jamie, you got your hands up.
Hey, morning, everybody. It's Jamie, the real estate inspection company in San Diego. Lance, I was curious. I think that was you that said averaging 1,500 to 2,000, something like that. Just curious, general idea on scope of work that goes with that average, or does it vary from one project to the next? Just general idea of what you're doing on site and what you're including for that $1,500, $2,000 average.
Yeah. So, and this goes into the type of building too. So the majority of the buildings that I inspect in my area are schools, small churches, small offices. And so normally my scope of practice is going to be, basic larger systems. We always run a sewer camera. We always do a cost to cure report, but that's also going to be separate. I consider that an ancillary. That's never a part of that cost. And so it really is a basic kind of walkthrough of the property, because that's what most people desire. If I'm in a property, I'm probably not going to pull dead front covers on electrical panels, especially if they're in operation. I'm not going to fire up every single HVAC system. If they want those, I will, and I charge way more for it. But normally they understand it is an all intents and purpose, just a visual walkthrough as I kind of manipulate things and move through the building. So, and that helps with the building size. And so when I say on average, it's usually that type of property. We have some industrial in our area, but that takes, it's a different type of project compared to, a multifamily would be much different. But I would say on average, the building size that I deal with is probably anywhere from 3,000 square feet to probably 7,000 square feet. And then when you've got open spaces and, some offices and those type of things, it doesn't take long to move through those. You're spending more time in utility rooms or on the roof than you are, in the small areas of the building.
Cool. Thanks, man. What's your cost to cure look like? Just brief or general. What are you doing for that?
So generally I am adding, it depends on the client. So if it's a client that, like, for example, today, this is a larger office suite that they're going to have probably 8 to 9 different leases in it. And so what I'm going to be doing is probably anything over $500 to $800, I'm going to have as a representation on my cost to cure report. And so I'm going to put those numbers inside my inside my commercial report. And then I'm going to extract those numbers and then put them in a separate report that I have built that breaks them all down. And then I'm going to give them probably a 5-year reserve. So I'm going to break down the immediate costs and then what those costs are going to take maybe over the next 5 years with some modifiers with an inflation rate, usually around 3.5% to 5.5%, depending upon the region. So I keep it really simple. I charge for them today to write this cost to cure because I'm writing one for each individual office, because I'm also doing a lease inspection today for them, where I look at every single lease and see what the person's responsible for. And so I'm writing one for each unit and then one big one for the whole building. So I'm charging $300 per unit to write that report for them. So I'm making an additional $1,500 just writing the cost to cure for each of these little spaces.
Wow, that's incredible. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Anybody want to have another question they'd like to ask? Everybody's a lot quieter today than they were last time. Rick.
Yeah, question in regarding to that lease inspection. Is there a checklist that you should go through when you're looking at a lease inspection?
No, not necessarily. So I started doing lease inspections several years ago when I had an out-of-state buyer come to me wanting to buy an office suite. I say office suite, say shopping center, we'll say that. And they had, several different people in the property, but they did not have a property manager here locally. And so they asked if I would look at the lease for them, that's current lease rent roll, and determine what everyone is responsible for. I had never done that. And so I went to a property management group that I was close to, and they helped me understand how to read everything and create kind of a list. And so it's the same type of inspection you would provide on any building based on your standards that you move through. But when you understand that maybe this person is in a triple net or a double net lease and they're only responsible for said items, I may make the report specific maybe to just those items, depending upon what the client wants. But I don't change it up. It's most people now are on a triple net lease, but some of those triple net leases may have, additional qualifiers where maybe they are responsible for their portion of the roof, whereas, some other triple nets may not be. So, and if anybody ever wants to know how to read those, at some point, I'd be happy to sit down and teach something on that, because every one of them's a little different, but it's a great service to make as an additional service to be able to say, I can evaluate, a lease or a rent roll and help you build an inspection around that.
That'd be great.
That would be great.
I'd be there.
Yeah. To interject with what you're talking about, in New York, a lot of times when we get our commercial inspections, the property manager or the listing agent or somebody puts out a brochure with all that information that you're talking about. It's usually 8 or 9 page color brochure. I guess that's how they market to the potential buyers. So that's interesting. Right. Do you ever come across any of those back where you're from? And I apologize, I didn't get your name and your location.
I am Lance Kaufman, and I am located in Oklahoma, but we do inspections in all the surrounding states for commercial. So
okay, Lance,
the lower Midwest.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lance. I didn't know that was you talking. This is Rob from Higher Elevation Home Inspections.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's me.
And yeah, I like you said, if you don't see the faces and who's talking, I thought it was somebody else. By the way, gentlemen, when I was at the Internachi convention, and I did the commercial track with all of the courses, and I came home and I sat down with my best friend who's an attorney and clearly my accountant, and he said, you have to split this out and set up a separate commercial company, because you're doing so much commercial and you're tying it through, Higher Elevation. And listening to Lance talk, Lance, you split up your companies too, right?
Yes. I don't know if I'm on mute right now. Hold on.
We hear you.
Yeah. No. Okay. No. Yes, I split them up. I did that day one. We already intended to do that before anyone told us, but yeah, we split them up for sure. Yeah, insurance, everything, right down the middle.
Yes. Yes, and that was smart because when I got legal counsel and I spoke to my accountant, they brought up mostly pros, very, yeah, a couple of cons because you have to pay a little more money. But the bottom line is if you want to sell one business, you could sell one independent of the other because they
Sure.
really are two separate entities. So it took its course. And then, we brainstormed and we came up with East Coast commercial inspections. So now, since we left Internachi Convention that Sunday, Monday morning, we had an LLC and it was just, we hit the ground running. So now we can split everything out on that side. And going back to pricing, tomorrow we're doing a 6-unit strip mall. The stores are basically anywhere from 750 to maybe 1,000 square feet, single story. All the mechanicals are in the back. I mean, clearly we're going to get on the roof, but we're getting 2,500. But when I sell it, I tell people either we're coming with 2 or 3 inspectors. So if we're there for 3 hours, you're really getting either 6 or 9 man hours, and they like it. And a little side note on pricing, I think if you come highly recommended by an attorney or a real estate person, I think you have a one-up on somebody that's getting, Google search. So, I would posture yourself and get your value, get your price that you're worth. I mean, you can't be silly, but we did another inspection last week in Queens and we got 3,600, and it was easy. It was easier work. We were done in 3 hours. It was just my son and I. But I think with those little tidbits of information, it would be helpful because I know we've been talking about pricing quite a bit. Share your thoughts, guys. I love to hear other people's opinions.
Well, I'll add real quick to that because you had asked a question at the beginning about, that information that you said they put out. So that's everywhere. And what that's called is an offering memorandum. So if you are ever in a situation where you don't know enough about the building and say you can't get on, LoopNet or something like that and find it, you can ask the buyer or the agent for an offering memorandum. And if it's a sizable property in a big area, often someone will have created that for you. And it is a wealth of information to at least get started and put a proposal together for sure. It won't have rent roll information specific to each unit, but it's a general, what people are paying for rent in that area and stuff. So yeah, absolutely. That is a helpful tool.
Yep, definitely.
Dave Lambert, you had your hand up earlier.
I did, yes. This is Dave with the Brick Kicker in Chicagoland, and I just wanted to see we're starting to have some issues with our software. We use HIP, and I just want to see if anybody's used Spectora, HomeGauge, Scribeware, any of the other ones, and whether they're satisfied with those and kind of their experience with it.
Well, can you also tell us what issues you're having with HIP with the commercial inspections?
Just with commercial inspections, we take a ton of pictures. It kind of turns out we take probably 150, 200 pictures a guy. So we sometimes end up with 600, 700 pictures, and just HIP is not designed to handle that many photos. So we're kind of having to pare things down. I just want to see if anybody else had that same issue or has a software that works better for that kind of thing.
Are you adding all 150 pictures to your reports normally?
We have before, and that kind of bogs things down and makes it it's kind of a mess if you do that many pictures.
Why would you? That's not really how you would do it to the standards.
We had lots of general photos because a lot of our clients just don't attend the inspection, so we try to give them as much a view of the building as possible.
So I recommend taking as many photos as you want and then creating a separate system like a Dropbox or something and organizing that. Because I do the same thing, especially in multifamily. When I go into every unit, I take a picture from all these different angles. And I may end up taking, 500 pictures, but maybe only 20 end up in my report. And it's easier to organize it that way too. And I don't think it's just HIP, it's anything. If you try to add that many photos to any of these report writers, it'll bog it down and make it really difficult. Spectora is great, but they're also going through beta right now, and that sucks quite a bit. And so, I've talked to Rob about this ad nausea. One of us is going to get smart enough and create our own report writer and become rich before the end of this all, because there really isn't one beat all that works right now for, I think, the ultimate need, because they're also running on a home inspection platform.
Sure. That's kind of
and I'm with you on that whenever you start ready to get started.
Lance, do you on that Dropbox is that just for you, or do you let your clients see that box as well?
I let them see it. So I have a Dropbox account that I pay for monthly business. And then it has like 12 terabytes for a lot of it. What I'll do is I'll put my photos. Time not to, and then if it's a client that will need them, I'll send it to them. Sometimes I don't do that many photos because I don't think it's necessary. What I can take for the report, maybe all I take based on the client's need. But you know, going back to that multifamily, like I said, I may take a lot because a lot of those guys and girls aren't there walking around with me, and they want an idea of what, you know, maybe each unit looks like. So I organize it that way. I found it was much easier than trying to drop it into the report section and meticulously make comments. I just give them a raw data file, and that's pretty much what they like.
And we've done the same kind of thing with like a Google photo album, especially for multifamily. So just showing pictures of every single unit, but it's
right.
Just want to see if there was a software that could handle that, but I guess maybe not yet.
No, I haven't found it. I've even had clients wanting me to put it all on a thumb drive and give it to them, and I've done that before too. It was much easier to Dropbox, but if there is one, I don't know of it.
All right, thank you.
Jim, you had your hand up.
Yeah, this is Jim Clune, Checkpoint Inspections in LaGrange Park, Illinois. I'm responding to Brick Kicker. I recently did a 30 unit in Chicago, and I'm using Spectora, and it was rough. I mean, I had to keep resyncing and just to get all the information in. It was very, very difficult. So it's a good question. I'm looking for a software also that can handle all that information when you get the bigger units.
Yeah, I think if you go across the line, you're going to find that, as Lance said, that all of these software providers that we're using are all based on residential and not based on commercial. And so it makes it a lot more difficult to kind of morph them. You know, we all have our bias, and I don't want to get into a bias contest of who's best, but I assure you this, we're working with all of the major players that want to work with us to try to talk to them and as an industry to see if they can't get something that works a little bit better on the commercial side, especially as we start growing our numbers, they can start seeing the opportunities to sell more licenses. So, I mean, that's all we can hope for. Tony, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, I wanted to add in. So I'm always looking. Dove and I are talking constantly about changing software, but I'm with HomeGauge. We did that 76 unit hotel with a ton of pictures because I took pictures in every unit and then scaled them down after. And it functioned, but it definitely bogged things down. So I think, like you're saying, Rob, and everyone else, I don't know, I don't care what software you're on, that many pictures is a big file size. And I think that no matter what, you're going to have that little issue with a ton of pictures, because that one was probably 400 plus pictures I took and then pared them down after.
Thank you. I think Paul, you were next.
Yeah, I was just going to go ahead and reinforce Tony's point. I use HomeGauge. I've used that on a 108 apartment complex, and it will bog down pretty bad. But the other thing that I've done with all my templates is I end up rebuilding all of them from the ground up to try and improve the flow of that report and try and cut down on some of the picture taking that I do to document. The ability to customize for me is just probably the most critical feature of a software package.
In a quarter of a mile.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, that's always the tough thing. I get the opportunity to, I'll have a lot of members send me their reports to read, and I read them, and there needs to be some work done on a lot of the inspectors' reports. They're still using references to the word home and things like that. But we have to have that mindset, and we work with professionals. We're not working with the homeowners that need to have I guess the best word to say is they need to have their hand held and be told the history of what an asphalt shingle roof is before you can say an asphalt shingle roof's bad. But on a commercial, we don't. So if you kind of remember that we're here for the facts, and you don't have to give them their life story. All you gotta do is tell them what's going on in the buildings. It can make things pretty quick, a lot quicker in the report writing side, but it won't take as much data either, and it'll save you room on the other side. Rick, you had a question.
Yeah, well, what happens is that before I got really into the association, I was working, doing inspections with a structural engineer in my area. I'm here in Miami, Florida, and we have the 40-year inspections that happen, and through the structural engineer, they go through, of course, a lot of pictures. Their report is based on, again, area, location, document what's more needed or whatever. But I found that they have a system that I've started to use that also works for my commercial and inspection.
And what was the system?
It's a system that the structural engineers have. I'll send it to you. So you'll
Please.
see it. Okay.
Please.
That they have.
And that goes for anybody. I'd love to, anybody has a report they want me to read. I'd be tickled to, and I give you what any advice or suggestions or applause I could give. Anybody have any successes they want to talk about this week? Quiet. Rick, your hand went up again.
Oh, sorry. I'll take it out. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
Yeah. Andre.
Yeah, so something's working. I got a phone call, put in a proposal for a large industrial place. I didn't hear back from them yet, but I was just tickled that they even called me on that. And then another realtor that's getting into commercial called me last night, and I think I'm going to get this 10,000 square foot warehouse retail space to do next week. So I'm just starting out, but things are starting to move, and I'm excited about that.
That's excellent, Andre. Dave.
Well, in terms of successes, I've developed a relationship with a phase one company that's kind of working out nicely. I've started kind of marketing their services to my clients and sending them out on some jobs, and they've started to send some of their clients back to me. So I've been writing a couple proposals this week for guys that are coming to me through the phase one company that I wouldn't have heard from Google or any other way. And so we're getting a few more jobs out of that relationship.
That's excellent. Dave, you want to send me an email with their name? I'd love to reach out to them.
Actually, you know them, Rob. It's ETS Environmental.
Oh, yeah. Are you working with Ryan?
Ryan, yes.
Yeah, good. I sent him a note yesterday.
Very nice guy.
Jamie.
Any idea on that company, region they serve?
They're in Illinois. I'm trying to reach out to them and see how broad a breadth they want to make on that stuff, Jamie. I'm trying to, I'll let you guys know a little bit behind the scenes. We're trying to find a nationwide company that can help our association with some phase one education assistance or leverage. And so if anybody's got a phase one company that they're working with and they like, reach out to me. And because I want to reach out to them and just see what their breadth of scope is and see where their interest might be in becoming larger.
I would definitely be interested in more information on that.
Yeah, our goal is to have a session on phase ESA inspections in Orlando next October. And so we're working very hard. We feel like ducks as fast as we're pedaling, trying to work with trying to find a company. So again, if you know someone, let me know so I can reach out to them immediately.
So you said they don't have to be nationwide right now, Rob? You just send us who we're working with, at least initially,
Yes.
right?
They don't
Okay.
have to be nationwide because maybe this will be the breaking point that makes them go, maybe we can think big.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've got
Well-
several of them that are regional, but if that be the case, I'll send them to you today.
Please, thank you.
Lance had some really good ideas with the phase one on a national basis that he's working on. I don't know if he's ready to talk about it or not, but he is working on something.
Who's that, Dove?
Lance.
Okay. So right now I can't. There's a bunch of nationwide ones that don't really work with associations and work with groups like ours, and I want to get to the right people. And once we get to the right people, I think we can tell a good story.
Straight.
On the basis of ESA ones, is everybody here know what an ESA one at least is? And are you, coming into contact with clients who are needing those? Or do you even know what type of properties often need an ESA one?
Yes, I've been having to complete them here in Colorado. And I've literally just kind of went on the internet and printed everything off and went through in a checkoff list and got all the information gathered from property history to aerials and all of the site evaluation stuff.
Are you doing that as a basic service, Mary, or are you doing that as this is what your client asks you to do?
I do it within the inspection and then separate. If they just want the ESA, they can just have the ESA, but it is a separate cost. But
Excellent.
like I just did one for an old Safeway, and I just added it into my report as part of the whole cost.
Excellent. For the group, is it lucrative, or is it more work than what you can charge?
It's lucrative.
Good for you.
So are you the one who's performing the ESA one? Is that what you're saying? Or you're doing
Yes.
okay. So in your area, do you have to be an engineer to do an ESA one?
No,
Really? Okay.
not that I'm aware of.
Here in Oklahoma, anyone who actually comes out and does the evaluation of the property and then looks for any wrecks and then writes all the recommendations and does that whole thing has to be a licensed engineering group to do a true environmental here.
Yeah, when I originally looked it up, it didn't have anything that I needed to do.
So what type of service does that look like when you provide it for your client then?
It has full background of the property, of if there's any tanks buried, any drainage issues, what the surrounding areas are, any kind of hazardous waste previous or reported by the neighbor adjacent properties, aerial views, just total demographics.
Are you doing any core sampling or anything like that as well?
No,
Okay, so
I would have to bring in an extra company for a core sample.
okay, that makes sense. Well, that's good to know. It's something at least to look into and see if that's something that can be done nationwide, because I know what you're talking about. I've just always referred it out to, one of those engineering groups that does it because they do that full service, but I do a lot of that research already on the back end. So that gives me something to think about. I appreciate that.
Well, that's one of the challenges we have is you can read this. It's like anything else. You can read the standards, and right now the most predominant standard is the ASTM, and it says specifically in there you have to be an engineer. But like anything else, if they don't ask what the standard is, who else can do it? And so that's what I want. That's why I want to talk to a firm and see if there's another way of not getting around, but skinning that cat to make it a little bit more lucrative for all of us that are out there doing commercial inspections and are deep in the trenches, and as well as is taking that firm that can do them, and maybe they are engineers, and cycling work backwards and forwards between us. So I mean, Daniel Pickett was just saying some. Daniel, you want to say what you were saying? No. All right. He said he used to be a branch manager in another life for Intertech PSI, and so he understands it's pretty darn hard to break into it because of these engineering firms, and that's where I think our benefit is partnering with the engineering firms. You know, maybe there's an engineering firm that's in upstate New York that wants to do these all over the country, and maybe there's a way that we could use our membership to do the site work and their firm to do the heavy lifting. At the end of the day, our clients get an awesome service. Jamie, your hand is up.
Whoop! I thought I was going to be able to pour a coffee.
Hey, we don't have a coffee emoji.
I got it done. I'm walking back here. Yeah, this is all very interesting. In San Diego, the phase 1. We're getting requests for it. I know that we've lost 2 or 3 jobs recently for that. So I'm learning all of this part of it. You know, I've been in the inspection industry 20 years now, but looking to partner. You know, I think on the last call we touched on this, but I'm looking to start with this topic on just finding someone here locally that can do it. But you know, I'm starting to see that, you know, those firms obviously do a PCA, and I'm hearing more and more from various people that that ASTM version of the PCA is what a lot of people in the commercial world are looking for. And so I get to calling around these places looking for a phase 1 and all that stuff. What would that sound like if essentially a competitor's calling saying, "Hey, I can't do phase 1. I'd like to steal your PCA work." What, you know, that I haven't dug into it far enough, but I guess what I'm saying is it seems like to me around here, a lot of these engineering firms do both. And what would be there's not really a benefit to them to okay, I'll partner with you, do your environmental stuff. But they're also they're doing the inspection as well, essentially. So in other words, I mean, I've lost jobs where they're shopping around and they just land on that engineering firm that does the PCA for the ASTM standard, and they can link in the phase 1 stuff. I'm just trying to understand all that a little bit better.
Sure. Most of the engineering firms, I did commercial before I took this, for 30 years. And I used the ASTM for 15 of them. And then one night I woke up and used the CCPA ComSop. Nobody's ever asked me the difference in the field. My clients didn't know the difference in the field. The engineers, they're not doing the inspections. They're being a vendor, or they're vending out each of the subordinate inspections for their clients. And so at the end of the day, they could be 2x, 3x, 4x more than you. So I think I think there's a spot in there, and they might not be doing the engineering side as much as they're doing the inspection side, because there's another firm, an engineering firm that has a specific environmental subset to their company. Very few firms, especially in smaller areas. San Diego might not be one. Chicago might not be one, has enough engineers on staff to spread that load across their entire billing cycle. But every one of them, and this is if you've not been in that world, every engineering firm has a different billing per employee. And that's how they come up with their fees. And so us as awesome generalists, we can usually bypass most of that with a good sales pitch and good conversation of how we understand how the buildings are put together. So I wouldn't let the engineers stealing my business get too caught up in your head, because I think it's the other way around once we can get our name out. Lance, you had your hand up.
Sorry, trying to drive. Yes. So to add to that, this is the one conversation I have with most new inspectors, is trying to discern what we're doing and what an ASTM is doing. So, and we use the term PCA really loose, and a true ASTM PCA is an engineering standard product. And so if you've ever looked at a PCA report, there is a lot of bloat and extra information that 90% of your clients don't need, nor do they understand why it's even there in the first place. The only time I've ever been asked to provide PCA information is when a national due diligence firm calls me to, like what Rob was saying, to contract my company to do the inspection piece while they contract out ESA 1 and they contract out surveying and this and this. They're the puppet master, and they're choosing everyone underneath them. The majority of your clients, they don't know what it is. The majority of real estate agents don't even know what they are. You bring up vernacular that we use in this conversation. Most of the agents don't even know that we exist. If you talk to them, they're like, I didn't even know someone in town did what you do. I was just hiring 12 different people to go out. So I want everyone to really understand that understanding of the ASTM vernacular and what that is might be stuff that we hear because, we're in the business and we're hearing it. But most of your clients and the people you're working for have no idea. So you start throwing that out there, they're not going to know. Unless someone specifically asks you, I need a PCA, don't immediately think ASTM, because like Rob said, they don't know the difference in the field. They just want to know, what's wrong with my building? How much is it going to cost me? What do I need to fix now? Or what do I need to fix later? And, can you be the person who helps me get from point A to point B? Because they don't know anything about their building. You do. So don't get hung up in the weeds of it, because I did for the longest time and did a lot of research and tried to figure it out. And really the only people who want an ESA is the lender. Most clients don't even know if they need it or not. It's a lender. So if you want to know more about the process, call your local commercial lenders or national lenders. That's kind of what Dove was referring to earlier. I've been calling a lot of national lenders and local lenders and trying to figure out, what do you need during the process of an inspection? And when they say ESA 1, what does that really mean? So straight. What's that? Oh, never mind. Dove, are you driving? Is that what I'm hearing? Dove's stuff in the
I just muted him because I don't need to know. He's already straight enough. I don't need to hear him
for
more.
example, Rob, if we opened up CCPIA engineering and all of us worked under CCPIA engineering when we're doing the EAS phase 1, would that be sufficient?
Everything I read, yes. Because there's I worked for an engineering firm right out of college, and the engineers don't leave the office. The techs leave the office, and we would all be, there's no difference in that than what we do on a daily basis. Let's say mold sampling, radon sampling, asbestos sampling. Your lab is the person. Exactly. We are merely the billy goats out there keeping the grass low.
So me, you, and Lance will open up a company. We're going to be this national company, and all the commercial inspectors will do the data collection on site. There
We're just going to need to hire ourselves a drunken engineer to sit in the. I think of that movie North to Alaska, where they had the drunken bartender locked up in the cave because he owned all the mineral rights.
Right. Okay, you can remute me now. I don't want you to hear my GPS talking.
This is a great conversation, and this is why we want to make sure that we address these needs as an association, and why we're working very hard to get somebody to be at our conference in October. Jamie.
Yeah, just thanks, Lance, for explaining that. You know, I think we talked about this on the last call, but IEB in the industry, you know, I've been on some calls that were commercial, and you know, just listening to other owners of companies across the country, it was like, you know, I'm hearing people cite that you know, 80% of the people calling on commercial want this PCA per the ASTM standard. But I just was kind of curious, everyone on here's perspective of what you're getting. It seems to me like Rob helped me a couple of weeks ago, right after we got off the last call roundtable here. I got a call. It was a Walgreens distribution center and 500,000 square foot, and I guess they had 5 or 6 of those buildings. And I didn't get it. It was close, but in the end, the guy working on this, you know, I'm in San Diego, he's out of Florida, he's third party, he sends me a 289 page PCA from an engineering firm, right? And we're talking through what we can do, and he's on board. And at the end of the day, like you said, there was so much bloat or just extra stuff in that report. I had to be pretty straightforward with him. Here's what I can do, here's all the value I can provide, but a lot of the content in that report, just I wasn't going to be able to pull together doing that just yet. And just feeling that out. I mean, I understand that the person on the other end on such a big client, they don't know what a piece, just asking me via email and phone call for a PCA. And, you know, he's sending, hey, here's the previous report. Can you do this? Right. So he doesn't really know what he's needing or what he's asking and all that stuff. But anyway, just kind of curious on some of these bigger jobs, because we're doing, you know, small and medium commercial, but it seems to come out more on the big stuff. And is it just a matter of talking them through that, you know, yes, I can do that, or here's what it is, here's what it isn't, or just kind of curious what you guys are running into that or you're not.
I'd like to know, Jamie, what specifically was what he sent to you that you weren't able to provide.
Yeah. Well, there's I'd have to pull it up and maybe, you know what, it'd be interesting on future calls if we could get it figured out to be able to share a screen and all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, we have that. We have a shared screen capacity. But you know, maybe a future call, then maybe in December, you and I will work on that.
Yeah.
If you could send me that previous report, I'd be happy to take a look at it with you.
Yeah.
Let's make a time, and you know, between now and our next call.
I have it here, but just off the top of my head, I'll try to rattle it off while I'm bringing it up. There was roughly 5 pages on ADA stuff, which we're working on doing that. Let's see here. I mean, you know, the site component stuff we would do, you know, stormwater and utilities and paving and concrete, landscaping, all of this stuff. So that's no problem. I'm just trying to get to the seismic zone stuff, flood zoning, zoning itself, building and fire code violations, regulatory compliance, ADA. Let's see here. We got work in progress, historical repair and replacement. So I guess that would be research and looking at all that stuff. Well, budgeted capital expenditures. Okay, that one, let's see.
Just real quick on your EDA, if you go to your architects and partner up with an architect, they can handle your EDAs. And then you can kind of oversee them and still get paid. And they get
actually section 15 of the ComSop is all about accessibility and follows that standard, as well as we have an online course about accessibility that would give you all that information necessary to be able to perform that.
Well, yeah, maybe we get more specific on it and go through it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see much value in, there's all this zoning stuff and school districts, and it's like information they just grab from somewhere and stuck into this thing.
You're absolutely right, and that's that layers of fluff that engineers do, because they're taking a boilerplate and they have and they probably charged 60 grand for that report.
Right.
And in producing that, they're measuring you versus them by weight. He's not on this call. We just recently had a guest in our office in our 3-day class from Alaska, and he's got some very large contracts in tribal lands, and he and I were talking. He says, I'm used to spending $30,000 to $50,000 an inspection report for one building in the middle of Unalakleet, Alaska. And he says, if I can do a CCPA report for $8 grand, he says, this is a win for us. And it's just a matter of getting out there and getting this across to the point of view of some of these larger corporations, that what you're wanting to do and what you're needing to do are two different things. And we can get past that. So Jamie, let's you and I work on that. It looks like some people are wanting to hear a little bit of a bulleted report from us. So let's make it a book report project for us.
Yeah, I'll just say too, to close that one out, and Rob, thank you again for helping me on that. You were a big help. I think that so other people can hear it too. It's just like I said, we've been in the inspection world 20 years, and we've been doing commercial all along, but small and medium. And years ago, we really were just doing home inspection on a commercial building, and now we're sort of in the middle. CCPIA style, and trying to take it further. And that's what I've gotten all mixed up in now over the last couple of weeks, is getting too overly concerned about essentially trying to produce what was in that report. And maybe we look at it next time. But now that I'm thumbing through it here while we're talking, it's like, I think the other side of it is I hadn't gotten our team and our company and our inspectors far enough along on this cost to cure and gathering the necessary information to do that, and putting it all into a spreadsheet on site to where we could form all this. And that was part of that job too. It's a little overwhelming, 500,000 square foot and 9,000 solar panels and I don't know, 40 RTUs, which I guess is not that many, but we need to get further along on the cost to cure stuff. So that was some of the reluctancy too. But now that I'm looking back on it, I guess I should have just made a better case that yes, we can provide that. There'll be some differences, rather than focusing in on there was, 10, 20, 30 pages of content that we weren't able to do.
Yeah. We'll work on that, Jamie, and make this a learning point for everybody. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share with the group? We've just hit the 1 hour mark. Dave.
I just have one last question, if anybody has any experience with it. I'm part of another group that goes over commercial inspections, and I had one inspector, I think, on the East Coast who does elevator inspections, which is not part of the ComStop as far as I'm aware, and something that we don't get into, but he said it's been extremely lucrative for them. And I was kind of looking into certifications and stuff for that, and just wanted to see if anybody else had any experience with that.
I just had to do a hotel, and I just brought in an elevator company and put their cost of the inspection into the report cost.
Yeah.
We do the same whenever we have to use a specialist for any specific component. Just fold that into the report cost.
An outside contractor.
Yeah. Dave, you're going to run into problems in your area because of the unions, and each municipality has got a specific contract with one of the 5 elevator companies, and so I found that impossible to be able to provide for our clients.
Yeah. The only thing I would add is, if it is something you want to do, there is an organization that I recommend you look into, and I'll type it down in the chat too, but it is the NAEC, and it's the National Association of Elevator Contractors, and they offer a certification that's called the QEI, I think, or QEA, but it's a qualified elevator like inspector or evaluator, and that's how you can go through and inspect an elevator, a carousel, an escalator, whatever, and understand code compliance and operating safety, and be able to write a report to do that if you wanted to. If it's something where you come across like one elevator every 50 buildings, then it's probably not worth it. I would farm it out. But if you feel like you're going to be able to get into buildings and properties that often have them, or escalators or something, then it may be worth checking out. So, and I would encourage everyone for that too. If you're doing certain building types and you find that they have certain systems in place that you feel like, I would like to make the money to do that, there's an abundance of resources to learn those things. Same for me. I do a bunch of schools. They all have playgrounds. How do I do playground inspections? I found an organization online, took the tests, paid the money, became certified, and now I use that as a selling point, and I upsell about $100 to $200 for every little playground at a school. So, but I feel like that's only useful, and Rob can speak to this, if you're really doing an abundance of those type of inspections where that system is present. Other than that, I would just hire somebody else.
Thanks, Lance.
Thank you.
Any other things here in this roundtable? Anybody? Again, are there any huge successes you're so tickled with? I know. I remember our last call. Andre was struggling with getting some work, and now you've got some work, which is awesome. Jamie, you put your hand up first, then Rick.
I'll just say a general success with CCPIA. I don't know if it's been 2 years or something like that, maybe longer, but anyway, so far this year we're doing I think 4 times the previous year in terms of revenue for commercial. So we are primarily home inspection, and so just general success that CCPIA largely has helped us to do that, which has been awesome. Combined with a little bit more advertising stuff, Google ads and such. But I have this, there might be not enough time to unpack it on this call, but a general question. So, which would be priority of next step in building, in building your commercial offering. So we're a large home inspection company. I've got 6 inspectors total, CCPIA, right? We're going out and we're doing commercial building inspection. We're doing it on Spectora. We are attaching and providing estimates based on Repair Pricer or the Quick Fix. That's where we're at with this. So, it's like I said, there's probably not enough time to unpack all of this stuff. But what would you guys say is the next most important step in building out your commercial offering, if that's where you're at? So what I'm saying is, I think there's some of you on the call that are far ahead in development of this stuff and been doing it a lot longer. I'm trying to gauge, as the manager and the person developing this for our company and our whole team, what's the next most important step. Now, I've got finding a phase 1 sub to help me out with that written down. Rob, you helped me on getting our proposals tuned up recently, but general ideas of what, like, the next biggest chunk to take on or step to move this along.
I think the best thing you could do next is be able to find a way to shout it from the tops of the roofs that you're the expert in San Diego and LA County and Orange County, and you better give us a call on your next building. So whether that's finding the local associations to join, because I'm sure that you're going to find it's pretty low hanging fruit, or taking every real estate professional that has given you work out to lunch and have them bring 2 or 3 friends along so you can get their work too. But I think that's your next step. I think that's in anybody's business. Once you've got your system down on how to do an inspection, you got your website ready. Now you got to be able to shout it from the streets, because now you got to get the work in, because every job that you're going to go out there and kill and do and be awesome with is going to get you 2 or 3 more. And that's just the nature of where we're at in the age of this industry. Anybody else?
Could you send out the playground information on that certification?
Yeah, I'd be happy to send that. And anything else that I can send out, I'll be happy to
Thank
add
you.
that.
Rick.
Okay, no, he answered my question. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I think I would just kind of reverberate what Rob is saying. And honestly, I think at this point, what makes it so overwhelming and maybe difficult is there's so many different types of commercial properties to do inspections on. So I would really encourage everyone to look around in the areas that you want to work in and see what type of properties there are and what you feel comfortable with, and then start going after that. Rob has said several times, they're in real estate and commercial, those agents work specifically with specific type of properties. So, and it's not hard to find those individuals online, and then strike up a conversation, coffee, whatever, and get to know them and just start working on those properties first and then build outward. That's always, that has been the most success for us as a company. That's when we started doing schools and churches. We do so many of them now. Other projects come our way because we have built relationships with agents. But find the few that you can do really well and just stick with those for a while, and then kind of grow outward, especially if you've got a bigger team, because it'll be easier for you to train your team on those type of properties, those type of processes and systems. And then from there, grow out. That would just be my suggestion.
Well, thank you, everybody. Our next call is going to be, if you want one, in December. We'll do it on the 12th, which is the Tuesday morning, right in the dead middle. I think it's the week after the big Inondachi Christmas holiday spectacular. If you've never been on that, there's a lot of free stuff available, and that's done on the Cozy Coats for Kids forum page. Coming up, we're going to have our world tour starting in January, and we'll be all over the country. So if you haven't attended one of the 3-day classes and you're looking to sharpen your spear, those are excellent. We'll be in Fort Lauderdale, Chicago, Nashville, Dallas, Phoenix, Boulder next year. I will be at the Tropea in January as well. So plenty of spots to see us. We have an electrical course right now that is in editing mode, and we are writing an exterior course as we speak. I'm trying to think of any other announcements we have from us. Just keep an eye open, and if you've got anything you want to share, please do. We're happy to share anything we can. If you need help, reach out. Many have. I probably get to talk to 6 to 10 members a week, needing help on proposals or looking at jobs, and that's kind of my smile of the week. Those are my favorite things to do. So that's fabulous.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything parting? Otherwise, we'll say goodbye.
Thank you.
Come to my class
Thank
in
you.
February.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lance. Yes, we on February we have a cost to cure. Sorry, Lance.
No, you're
Uh,
fine. I'm gonna punt my class. We'll talk more than just cost to cure, but yeah, it's there in Boulder in February. So check it out.
And the weather is not terrible. We have special weather in the high desert. It's we might get snow, but it doesn't stick around.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Be safe and do a great inspection.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.